Well, hey there, guys. Welcome back to the Adam Braud Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. Sorry for my background. It's a little bit different today. Actually in my home gym because we have people in the house, and I have like a minimalist approach to all of this, and I'm doing my best with what I have. Okay, so it looks okay. We might hear uh, a little bit of noise coming here and there, but it's all going to be good. Actually, I think the background looks okay. I think if I painted it, it would look a little better, but we'll get there, right? So thank you again for joining me. We are super excited to have you. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about diet and eating for longevity. Okay, this is one piece of a series of teachings that I am putting together, and eventually we'll put together in a online course to basically help believers or non-believers look at their approach to life, look at their approach to diet, exercise, and just lifestyle in general from a biblical point of view to some extent, and bring in science and help us to live in such a way as to maximize our health and maximize our time here on earth so that we can continue to do what God's asked us to do, right? I keep harping on this, but stewardship is a cornerstone teaching in the Christian faith. Stewardship is the responsible management of something of value. Okay? And I'm watching Christians, I'm watching believers, and I'm going to be honest, eat like children and say that, they can't help it, or they don't know what to do. And we're full of all these excuses as to why we are just not taking care of ourselves. The honest to goodness reason is we do not see our bodies as valuable until we get so sick that we need a miracle. And at that point, do you need a miracle? Maybe. But are you kind of just reaping the consequences of not doing what needed to be done? Yeah, same. Both and, right? So I don't want it to be harsh. I do not want it to be um, too in your face. But I think for some people, they need that. They need that little wake up call. Like I've got a buddy, or I have a friend. He's from a long time ago. He's got like 8 kids. And I'm like, you know what causes that, right? And he's like, yep, I'm just not willing to give that up. So I'm like, okay, cool. He's got 8 kids, so he's got like 8 different personalities, right? And he said, you know what? You always got that one. You got that one kid that even if they're not doing something wrong, you just got to go over and shake them real good just to scare them and let them know at any point when you do act up, I'm right there to get you, right? So he's like, sometimes you just got to go over and shake them. And I feel like for some people in this area, sometimes somebody like me saying something a little more direct might be the shaking they need, but many people, the shaking they're going to get, and that's going to wake them up, is they're going to get a bad report from the doctor, and they're going to start paying the bill that they have run up on their health. They've been living on credit, because that's what happens when you don't take care of yourself, you don't eat well, you're living on credit. You're living on tomorrow's income today. Okay. You're living on the blessings of tomorrow. The health you were supposed to have down the road, you're taking it now. Right. And exercise is one of the few things that actually gives money back. It gives time back. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit more about this. All right. So today we're going to talk about diet. Diet tends to be one of people's favorite topics, which I find interesting. Because there's so much information about diet that we do know, but then there's also a lot we don't know. And there's a lot that science can't tell us about diet. There's a lot that it can. But we're going to do our best to talk about eating for longevity. I'm going to base it on principles. We're going to give you about probably 11 principles. So this might be rather long, so bear with me. Just have grace, listen to it if you want. And soon I will start doing some with maybe a slideshow here and there, but for now we're just going to do video. So we're going to give you some principles based around eating for longevity. What I based this teaching off of is the work of many of those in the science community who focus on longevity in general, longevity, dementia, cancer prevention, and just overall human performance. Okay. So I did my best to compound some of this down. I'm going to read off some studies and names and things like that. But for the most part, this can be principle based. So you may need to take notes at some point, or you may need to go back and listen to it again in order to get the principles correct. Okay. So we're going to diet, we're going to be eating for longevity. Now, let me just clarify. Eating for longevity does not mean weight loss, like eating for weight loss. But because there's very specific ways that I can create weight loss without, even thinking about longevity. But when you eat for longevity, weight loss can be a large part of that if you have been mistreating your body through your diet for many years or even just short period of time. Weight loss can be a part of that. And we do know that as you get to a healthier weight, generally your health markers improve. So you can get pretty much 90% of all of the health improvements you're going to get out of your lifestyle just by doing a few things like making sure you eat in a calorie deficit or getting to a good weight, lifting weights, focusing on protein, not drinking or smoking. There's a few things that you can do and you can get the majority of the gains here, right? But when it comes to diet, we have to kind of reiterate things quite a bit. All right, so here we go. There's a funny quote by Orson Welles. He said, "My doctor told me to stop having intimate dinners for 4 unless there were 3 other people there." All right. And I think that the reason why I like that is because we all have this celebratory kind of gratuitous eating. We think that that's just the way things should be. But to be honest with you, that's a relatively new thing to the human species. For much of the human history, we didn't have enough resources to just every meal be gluttonous. Okay. So it's funny that we think that's normal, but it's not normal. And it shows in our waistline, in our lab work. It shows in how the death rates, it shows. Okay. So what is diet? All right, I'm going to read a good bit of this because some of this is too much information to memorize, which I do like to memorize. Diet. In nutrition, diet is the sum of food consumed by a person or organism. The word diet often implies the use of specific intakes of nutrition for health or weight management reasons, or just health outcomes in general. Okay. But in the Greek, the original word for diet can be translated as dieta. Okay. This term refers to the habitual or prescribed course of eating and drinking of an individual, often for health or weight management processes. So think lifestyle. Diet actually is your lifestyle. So that's why we're going to give you principles to build a eating lifestyle around. Okay? Because at the end of the day, for longevity, there's not one secret hack. I don't care if so-and-so health guru says if you ice plunge every morning and you don't eat for 15 hours of the day, but then when you do eat, you eat these goji berries and then you do this, and it doesn't matter. It's not going to be one protocol. It's going to be the sum total of your lifestyle choices and then the consistency of those choices. Okay. There are no quick fixes here. There is only consistency and grinding to do your best. Remember, perfection is not a thing. Persistence is the thing, right? So some things that diet does not mean. Okay. And this doesn't play well with the social media crowd. And this is one reason why I could probably get more engagement on my social media if I did take some of these routes, which I'm not going to do. Diet does not have a sacred significance, at least not in the West. In some places it does. So we don't have a cult-like group thinking against us and them, right? It's not a cure for all your ills if you just find the magical combination. It's not an identity. And I'll be honest with you, I have a real issue with people who are on social media and their diet is in their name. Okay? There's an issue there. Your identity is not a diet. You're a person, not a diet. Okay? It's not an identity or a way to find your place in the world. Okay. So, for instance, this is very common. And look, I get it. It's very common kind of in the vegan culture where I am vegan and that is my identity and my place in the world. And I actually am going to use that diet to save the world. Well, you're asking a lot of a diet. Okay. So, that's not what diet is. It's not your identity. It's not some mystery to be obsessed over constantly and then constantly filtered and constantly pushed through. It's not what diet is. Now, you can obsess over it if you actually have real medical complications, okay? But just being overweight is not like you need to obsess about everything, okay? Some other things that diet is, just go on the other side. Diet is not just fuel and has no real meaning. Like it's just fuel, man. Just get the calories in, bro. It's just calories. Like I hear people say that all the time. And they're usually overweight. It's not just fun or entertainment to be abused. It's not just pleasure centered. Like, you know what? I'm here for a good time. I want to make sure if I do make it to heaven, I want to slide in barely beat down and ready and on the edge of death anyway, right? Like you're not supposed to just abuse your body. Remember, there's that stewardship piece. And it's not just a tool to deal with non-nutritional needs or emotional needs. Your food is not there to make you feel better about you. Okay? You are asking food to be your significant other. You're asking food to be God. You're asking food to be the Holy Spirit for you. You're asking food to be your mother or father and make you feel better about yourself. That's not what food is for. Okay? Food is meant to help you thrive and be a human and do the things that God asked you to do. It's not supposed to be just entertainment. It can be entertainment. And it's not supposed to be just a tool for food, like just like no emotion to it whatsoever. It's God also put food here for us to celebrate and have a good time. All right. But there's a way to do that. All right. Tony Robbins said, success leaves clues. People who succeed at the highest levels are doing something differently than everyone else does. All right. So the reason I put that is because if we look to the past a bit, there are clues to be found. And I'm going to have a great guest on. By the time this airs, he might be close, but we're going to talk to a new friend who's a dentist, and he uses kind of cultural anthropology, in a sense, to look at the way humans used to eat and how our teeth were affected by that. Okay, so it leaves clues. The old ways are not always the best ways, but they do tell you which way, where you got off track at sometimes. Okay, so we're going to look at clues. One second. One of the clues is humans can and have thrived on a wide variety of diets over the millennia. Okay, we have and do thrive on a variety of diets. Okay, but what those diets are made up of is the thing that matters. Okay, clues left behind from ancient cultures. Here are a couple of clues and just things to think about. Okay, this helps us frame how we were probably patterned to eat from the beginning. Okay, I believe in creation. I believe God created us a specific way. I believe He gave us a certain bit of biology that has very specific needs, though it is extremely adaptive, and many combinations of those needs can be met. Those needs can be met in many different combinations, but there are specifics that have to be within the formula. Okay. And one of those is proteins and fats found in animal products are the number one objective in all food seeking throughout history. Okay. Throughout history, humans, when seeking food, proteins and fats were always the number one source. Why? Because of their calorie content. They're extremely calorie dense, and because of their metabolic importance. Specifically, we die without them. If you don't get enough protein or fats, you starve, right? Because your tissues, all of your tissues on your body, are made up of some combination of amino acids from proteins and fatty acids. Okay. Those are the building blocks of the human body. Okay. We do have calcium. We do have some other things, like we have some minerals in there too. But if you specifically do not get proteins and fats in, you die. Okay. The other thing, one of the other clues is that carbohydrates in the form of fruit, vegetables, and tubers were the next in importance, but had seasonal availability. Okay. So the seasonal availability there is a big point. And also, you don't die without carbohydrates. I don't care what any of the gurus say. The fact that we have cultures that still exist to this day who eat almost 0% carbohydrate and animal and plant matter, and they still exist. They didn't die off. They weren't extinct. The fact that they exist tells us that biologically, human beings can survive and even thrive without vegetable matter or carbohydrates. Okay? We have plenty of mechanisms to take care of our bodies without those things. Okay? So when people say fiber is an essential nutrient, no, it's not. Can it be very helpful? Absolutely. But nobody dies, nobody gets constipated, and poop comes out their ears because they didn't have fiber. As a matter of fact, most people find relief in their bowels when they cut the fiber down, just to be honest. So we'll talk about some of that later. But also, a third one is the limited amount of availability of food in general creates a level of health and efficiency we rarely see in modern diets. Simply put, having to work for food makes you healthier. Okay? So, three things we see. We see that protein and fats are of primary importance. Okay? Protein in the Greek actually comes from the word that means primary, of first importance. Okay? Proteins and fats are of primary importance. Carbohydrates, secondary importance, and seasonally available. So there is from history, so there is a limited amount of time and availability. Because if you think about it, let's just say before the agricultural revolution, how did you get fruit? Well, it sprouted on the trees out in front of you. And then there was extreme competition for that fruit because there's other animals that want it too, right? If you live anywhere where there are monkeys, I can tell you right now, there is extreme competition for any type of fruit. Okay? So there's extreme competition for it. And then it's only limited, it's only seasonally available. So that should inform us that for the majority of human history, we ate primarily proteins and fats as a fuel source, and then we used carbohydrates in the form of like potatoes and tubers, leafy greens, fruits and veg in limited amounts because they were seasonally limited. Okay? So that should inform how we probably should eat today. And then on top of that, because we had to work so hard to find food, having some form of restriction makes it more healthy. The human body thrives on a little bit of restriction. Okay, so those are 3 clues left behind. All right, all diets in the ancient world, before we mastered, planting and calories and all this other stuff through modern food science, were some combination of proteins and fats from animal sources and carbohydrates from fruit, tubers, and some plant matter. It is important to note that any combination of these seems to work, but there must be an availability limit and an amount of energy burned per calorie. Okay, so any combination of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates can work great for the average person. Like, let's say somebody who's just generally healthy, doesn't have any real metabolic issues, then any combination of proteins, carbs, and fats probably works okay, as long as there is some form of restriction, some form of amount given, right? In the old days, people had to work for it. You had to go out and hunt the thing, right? You had to go out and kill the antelope. Well, that right there, you just burned. Like, if you ever seen any of the old videos from hunter-gatherers doing something called persistence hunting, well, they basically would like track a kudu or large antelope, and usually a big male, because the antlers were bigger and they had less stamina overall. And then they would just chase it for hours. They would just chase it and chase it and chase it until it got so exhausted that it just laid down and could not move anymore. We're talking like anywhere from like 5 to 8 hours of running, walking, running, walking, running, walking. And then they kill this thing, and then they have to butcher it. They probably eat immediately a little bit there, fill up their bellies real good on just meat and protein, or meat and fat, unless there was something else available. And then they quarter it, they strip it, and then they carry it back. Okay. The amount of work involved in getting these calories is significant. So we have to realize that you need some form of calorie burn in order to be healthy. Okay. You can't just eat proteins, carbs, and fats and have limited access to these things and limited and unlimited amounts. Unlimited access and unlimited amounts is death. Okay. So there's some things we need to know there. Okay. Based on these clues, the work of leading longevity experts here. So based on these clues and the work of leading longevity experts, here's a list of guiding principles to eat for longevity. Okay. One thing we need to understand is that inside of longevity, so if you think of longevity as like a box, okay, it's a box that we're looking into right now. But outside of that box is inside of another one. Okay. And it's framed by something called progressive exercise and mindful calorie intake. Those are the two frames that this is in. You will not have longevity. You cannot expect to have great longevity and great health if you are not exercising and you are not mindfully eating. Okay? You can't. You're just not gonna. You're gonna sabotage all the other efforts. Okay? So anything I give you in this list right now is predicated on the fact that you are already exercising. Okay? You're exercising regularly. And I don't mean, oh, you go to the gym 2 times a week. Okay? That's not exercise. That's going to the gym 2 times a week. Okay? I'm talking a lifestyle of movement, a lifestyle of going to the gym, lifting weights. And then when you're not there, you're moving, you're walking. You're not just somebody who is a couch potato for, the majority of the day and then goes to the gym and then comes back to be a couch potato. That has a very limited amount of effect on your total health. Okay? It can be healthful. And if that's where you're starting, that's fine. But realize it has to get more. Just think about the scenario I just presented to you about persistence hunting. Humans are built for that type of output. We are built for that. Not everybody can do that, but we are built for serious amounts of output. And our biology responds extremely favorably to high levels of output. Okay? And then having limited amount of calorie intake. So some form of restriction. All right. So with that in mind, we'll get into the list. The number one thing based off of the research that I see, this is rule one, principle number one, is to keep your insulin in check. Okay. What does that mean? Well, I did an entire podcast on insulin resistance. So if you're not familiar with insulin, please go back and listen to that one. I've gotten a lot of really good feedback on that one because people were confused about insulin resistance. They hear this word thrown about, but they're not sure how you get that thing. It's like it's floating around and it just attaches to you. That's what most people think, right? You just got it. No, you create it, right? Through a combination of your genetics and your lifestyle, you create it. All right. So by keeping your insulin in check, what do I mean? I mean, prioritize foods that have a minimal impact on your blood sugar and insulin levels. For example, this could include protein, non-starchy vegetables such as leafy greens, broccoli, cauliflower, bell peppers, berries, nuts, like almonds, walnuts, seeds like chia seeds or flaxseed. Keeping carbohydrates low in your diet and at each meal will help you regulate your blood sugar and help you to avoid insulin resistance, which is the precursor to most of the major diseases of lifestyle that we suffer from today. Avoid sugar, like added sugar, to the best of your ability. If it is sweet, know that it is probably creating some form of insulin response. Does that mean you need to fear all insulin responses and fear all sugar? No, of course not. But it has to be limited. Like I know people right now with drawers of candy at work, and they eat candy all day, and they don't know why they can't lose weight. It's like, well, wake up a little bit, maybe. Like maybe just notice a couple things, right? You can't just, carbohydrates are just one of those things that's just not a free pass. You just don't, it's just not a free pass. Are they bad for you? They can be. Are they bad for everyone? No. Do they make you fat? They can. Do they make everybody fat? No. I just ate. I just ate a bunch of eggs, a little brisket, some berries, and I put maple syrup on my berries. Sounds funny. I put maple syrup on the blueberries. Okay. Maple syrup is sugar. Yeah. And I won't have any more the rest of the day. Okay. So we're not afraid. We are mindful. Okay. So we want to prioritize foods that keep our insulin in check. All right. So now remember, in the framework of progressive exercise and mindful eating, those two things already help to keep insulin in check. All right. That's why this is number one, because we know it's a precursor for the majority. I mean, 800,000 people will probably die this year of cardiovascular disease. 800,000. It's going on near 1 million. And the precursor to that is usually some form of insulin resistance. Okay? You don't have to be a statistic, right? So, a great Thomas Seyfried, who is a professor at Boston College that studies cancer, he says, in cancer metabolism, there is evidence to suggest that cancer cells have a heightened dependence on glucose, think sugar, for energy compared to normal healthy cells. Restricting sugar intake or following a low carbohydrate diet may potentially starve cancer cells of their preferred fuel source, thereby slowing tumor growth or improving treatment outcomes. All right. So does this mean a low carbohydrate diet is going to keep you from getting cancer? Absolutely not. But it could lessen the likelihood that you will. It could possibly help with any treatment outcomes. I have a buddy right now who has got a bad report about cancer. So what did he do? He's doing what the doctor says, but he also is using more of a ketogenic type diet to somewhat try to do what he can through his limited abilities to create a favorable environment in his body for cancer to not live. Okay? He wants a favorable environment for health, not cancer. All right? So lower carbohydrate diets seem to help in this regard. They seem to. Okay? Like you're not going to get any absolutes out of me either. Okay? So one absolute you will get out of me is that protein's awesome and you need it. All right? Number 2, principle 2. You need to prioritize protein. Choose high quality protein sources such as lean meats like poultry and grass-fed beef, eggs, fish, tofu or tempeh if you're on the plant-based lifestyle, seafood. Aim for a moderate intake of protein to support muscle maintenance and repair, bone density, and overall performance. As we age, this becomes even more important. There's something called anabolic resistance that creates the need for more protein. So as we age, we basically don't utilize our amino acids as well. So there's an increased need. So I would say if you're exercising regularly and you're in your, if you're in your 60s, going into your 70s, you probably need to prioritize protein even more, not less. Okay. And what happens generally is as people age, they tend to get more of a preferential sweet tooth. I'm not sure why. It just seems that way. But through habit, good lifestyle choices over time, it's possible to avoid that. Okay. Now, if you are plant-based, I will say unequivocally and without shame that plant-based sources can be good to fill gaps, but they are inferior to animal sources in all respects. They are inferior in their quantity. They're inferior in the quality of amino acids. Can you live a life and be relatively healthy on a plant-based diet? Of course. Of course you can. All right. That's the marvel of modern technology. Yes, you can do it. If you're looking for optimal health, I would say if you are plant-based, I would say if you're not doing it for ethical reasons, then a combination of both animal foods and plant foods is probably the better option. For those who don't have ethical concerns, the vast majority of your stuff from animal protein, animal sources is probably best. Okay. Protein is from the Greek word proteos, meaning of first place or primary. Okay. There's a reason why it's primary. All right. Number 3, fat is your friend. Fat is your friend. Include sources of healthy fats like avocados, olive oil, fatty fish such as salmon, mackerel, trout, some nuts, especially like almonds, walnuts, macadamia nuts, seeds like chia seeds, flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, butter. Yep, I said it. Butter, tallow, which is rendered beef fat basically, are great options. Pork fat like bacon grease could be okay if you get it from a good source. These fats provide essential fatty acids and can help reduce inflammation, which is implicated in many age-related conditions, okay? The brain is roughly 60% fat. Cholesterol is also a part of just about every cell in the body, as well as the foundation for all of your sterile hormones like estrogen, progesterone, cortisol, testosterone. Without cholesterol, you die. All right. So the fear about cholesterol is completely unwarranted. What really is the issue is when you have insulin resistance and you don't take care of your body well, you don't exercise well, you're ingesting too many carbohydrates in the form of processed foods, alcohol, things like that. This absolutely will throw off your lipid panel, so your cholesterol panel that when you go to the doctor and they're like, this isn't looking good, we should put you on Lipitor. Usually, if you look further down the line, there's other metabolic issues, and that's the thing. That's what's causing this thing, okay, for most people. But I'm not saying don't listen to your doctor. I'm not saying your doctor doesn't know what the crap he's talking about. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying many guys who are prescribing these flagship drugs for pharmaceuticals, let's just be honest, these are some of the best selling drugs in the history of man. Okay? To fight a disease that is created seemingly by other causes and these drugs have pretty much the worst track record for success. Let's just be honest. And it's crazy to me, but I do believe that fat is your friend. You can be healthy. Humans have been eating the fat since the beginning of time. And the first heart attack in America was recorded in, I think, 1912. Okay. So where are all the heart attacks from before? Where was the obesity from before? Where was the climate crisis from before with eating all this red meat and fat? Oh, that didn't exist. I wonder why. Because maybe something else changed. Possibly the access to sugar and ultra processed foods. But Kellogg's doesn't want you to know about that. So sorry, I can get on a rant. Number four. Okay, remember, number one, keep your insulin in check. Number two, prioritize your protein. Number three, fat is your friend. And number four, fasting is a forgotten healer. Okay. Consider incorporating fasting or some form of time-restricted eating patterns, as these approaches have been shown to improve metabolic health, enhance cellular repair processes, and potentially promote longevity. Experiment with fasting protocols that suit your lifestyle and preferences, such as a 24-hour fast or a multi-day fast. This can be done periodically, okay? Fasting turns on processes of healing and repair called autophagy. We rarely use these days. We rarely use them for significant amounts of time. They're always on. Like you're going in and out of these things regularly. But when you fast, you stay in those states for a prolonged period of time. I would say that. Intermittent fasting is less able to do this, as the window is usually too short and can become a stress when used too often. The key is to go without for longer than you would like. Okay, so just a quick note about intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting, first of all, definitions matter. Okay, I think it was Socrates who said, what did he say? He said, wisdom, the beginning of wisdom is the defining of terms. Okay, so the terms need to be defined. The word intermittent means infrequent. It goes in and out. It goes in and out, right? It doesn't mean rhythmic. It doesn't mean skipping breakfast every single day. That is now just your schedule. That you're not intermittently fasting. You're just not eating breakfast. Okay? So we need to realize, like, the whole idea of intermittent fasting as this tool is way overblown. Okay? If we're going to do true intermittent fasting, that means you would go for about 24 hours every few weeks. Let's say every 2 to 3 weeks, you go for about 24 hours with no food, basically just liquids. And those liquids are usually something that's not sugary. Okay? So fasting can turn on some of these repair mechanisms for a prolonged period of time, which allows the body to rest a little bit, lets the digestion rest. Think about it. If you're constantly just shoving food in your face for 4 to 5 meals every day, and the only time you get a break is when you're asleep, and even when you're asleep, the first 4 or 5 hours of that sleep is you still digesting. And then, and I don't mean to be graphic, but as soon as you wake up, you got to poop on deck, and you go let go of that, and then you go immediately shove more food in your face, right? then that is a lot of mileage. That is a lot of wear and tear on the system. But the body is built for both situations. It's built to take in food well and utilize it, digest well, take care of it, make amazing health out of it. It can. But then it also is very well prepared and needs times where there is a lack, where there is nothing. It needs that because there's all these other processes that most people never tap into, and they lie dormant, and you never see the effects of going without food or fasting from time to time. You never see those effects because you're too worried that, I'm going to be hungry. Well, nobody ever truly died from the feeling of hunger. You die from starvation. You don't die from the feeling of hunger. And I guarantee you, if you do a multi-day fast, after the first couple days, you're not hungry really, right? Like I fasted yesterday. I went from the night before, I went from about 8 o'clock to about 7 o'clock the next day, and I wasn't hungry. I ate some dinner. I had a dinner and then some snack, all protein heavy with some good fats, a little bit of carbohydrate, and I went to bed and I felt great. Woke up great, felt great. But at no point was hunger unbearable because nobody dies of hunger. People starve to death. They die of starvation. You don't die from the feeling of hunger. Okay? You need these processes. So having something every once in a while where you go without food is really important. All right, there was a funny quote. Not funny, but there's a good quote. Fasting is the greatest remedy, the physician within. And this was a guy named Philippus Pericleus. He was a Swiss physician, which I think that's true. Fasting is a great protocol. Number 5, phytonutrient-rich foods. Okay, this is for all the carnivores out there who are going to be like, no, plants are trying to kill you. I mean, granted, you can't go out into nature and just make a green salad. Okay, the majority of plants are not edible to humans, but there are some that really do have useful benefits. Leafy greens, those I think with lower oxalate levels and lower total toxins from pesticides and herbicides can have a place in the diet. Okay, so include a variety of colorful fruits and vegetables in your diet to obtain a wide range of phytonutrients, antioxidants, and vitamins. Berries, leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables, tomatoes, carrots, citrus fruits, and are particularly rich in beneficial compounds that support overall health and longevity. These are great to include, but should not take the place of protein or fats. Okay, there, I said it. They add some benefit, but pale in comparison to animal foods. Eating them in organic form and seasonally is important for overall benefit and making sure they are less toxic from the overuse of pesticides. Okay, now I will say this. We have been sold a bill of goods when it comes to plant-based diets. Plant-based diets are about 5 times on a nutrient basis and mineral basis, about 5 times less effective. Just in the number of nutrients and the availability inside the plant, okay? I've always been confused by this. I'm supposed to eat fiber. Why do I eat fiber? Because you can't digest it and it helps you poop. Okay. So I can't digest the fiber. Where is all the nutrients from the plants? It's in the fiber. Okay. But I can't digest that. Exactly. That's why it's so good for you. Okay. It doesn't make sense to me. So there is an availability, like a bioavailability issue when it comes to phytonutrients. That doesn't mean that they are evil. And it doesn't mean that you don't or you can't use them. That's not what it means. Okay. So I get a little frustrated with the carnivore zealots who are, in my opinion, can be just as irritating as vegans who who assume that everybody should eat this way because it's worked for them. And they get on this dogmatic approach. I think some plants are great. Berries are really good for you. Some antioxidants are great for you, even though they still can't be digested as well as animals. There's still a place for them, okay? And for one thing, they do make you feel more full. Therefore, if you're trying to lose weight, it can keep your calories down, okay? So if you're trying to lose weight, vegetable matter is very filling. It has a lot of water in it too. So you can get rehydrated and feel more full over time. All right, so there is a place for them. Number 6, fiber can be a useful tool. Fiber is useful for creating a sense of fullness and satiety. The number one reason most diets fail is from hunger. Fiber can curb that hunger to some extent. Fiber is not essential for gut health. I think some people would argue with me about that, but I don't see that in the literature. I do see in some of the literature that people who have very high fiber intakes tend to have less overall health issues. But I think this could be a healthy user bias, meaning people who focus on getting in lots of fiber are already usually concerned for their health. They're concerned about eating healthy, so their lifestyle is just generally more healthy. I don't think the fiber is the reason why they're healthy. I think their general concern for their health that spills over to many areas of their life is why they're healthier, and they just happen to eat more fiber. Okay. Studies do show that people who eat fiber tend to be healthier, but I said this could be due to food choice rather than fiber itself. Not overeating leads to better health outcomes in general. Fiber can be a tool to help with that, but too much can cause intestinal distress, bloat, and gas. Each person should moderate based on how they feel. I personally don't eat like a lot of very heavily fibrous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, things like that. It just gives me gas and it gives me kind of bubbly tummy. I don't enjoy it. Are they delicious? They can be if cooked well, but they don't make me feel great. And if I do eat leaves in general, I eat things like butter lettuce or some romaine lettuce, things that are much easier for me to digest. I don't eat spinach and things like that anymore just because of the high oxalate content and the sheer amount of pesticides on them. Kale in general, kale is probably the biggest offender because of the way the leaves are curled up. They hold more pesticides than almost any other plant. So though kale can be quite healthy, the way we produce it here in the West makes it much more toxic than it does healthy, in my opinion. Okay. Now, some people will be like, but kale salads are great. And yeah, I've had some really good kale salads. But again, it's what we do consistently over time that matters. It's not defending one food that matters or thinking fiber is the thing. But what about fiber? Are you going to not be able to poop? Well, wolves don't eat fiber and they poop fine, right? But we're not wolves. Correct, we're not. But we have a very similar digestive tract. We don't have a chambered stomach. We don't have we have a very small cecum, which is where most vegetable matter is digested. We have a similar pH in our stomach to carnivorous animals. Can wolves eat fiber stuff? Sure. Dogs, like my puppy in there, she'll eat like some butternut every once in a while. She'll eat some things like that. But for the most part, she eats meat or eggs or something like that. Because we have very similar digestive tracts. That doesn't mean we are the same thing, and it doesn't mean like, well, what about gorillas? Well, gorillas have a very different digestive tract. They have a very long cecum. It allows them to digest plant matter for much longer periods of time so they can derive the nutrients from it. We just don't have that ability. Okay, so fiber can be useful. Do you need fiber to be healthy? I don't think I would go that far. I would say fiber it should and probably needs to be part of a healthy diet in some form because it helps with fullness. I think just not overeating in general and being full for longer periods of time creates far more health than fiber by itself could ever do. That's just my opinion. Okay. Another thing is if you get like diverticulitis or colitis or something like that, they usually put you on what's called a low residue diet to let the intestines rest and heal. Low residue means no fiber usually, or low fiber. So if low fiber lets my intestines rest so that the colitis or diverticulitis can heal up, well, why do I need the fiber on all the other days to not let my intestines rest? Shouldn't I just do what's best to keep my intestines in good shape? Something to think about, okay? So, number 7, avoid processed foods and added sugars. Minimize the intake of processed foods, refined carbohydrates, sugary snacks, and sugary beverages, as these can contribute to insulin resistance, inflammation, and metabolic dysfunction. Instead, choose whole, minimally processed foods that provide nutrients without excessive added sugars or unhealthy additives. Moderation in all things, like moderation in all foods, is a lie. Junk food is a poison for your body. How is moderation with poison a thing? Okay? Many fail to realize lasting health change because we are overcommitted to our comfort and entertainment and undercommitted to our flourishing. Okay? These ultra processed foods with tons of added sugars, I'm just going to be honest with you. They only add negativity to the health. They only take away from your health. They do not add to your health. I don't care. I don't care. They are crap. And I have a real problem with people who are so committed to their comfort and so committed to their taste buds feeling taste that they just can't seem to give up the processed foods. I'm not saying you have to give them up altogether, but they shouldn't be a huge part of your diet. Okay. And you shouldn't be making excuses for why you need to eat them. Right? They do not add health, they take away from health. Okay? As an adult, you can pick and choose to eat something that's unhealthy from time to time. That's fine. But if you eat like a child all the time, you will get sick and you will have problems. Okay? So you need to be more committed to your health than you do to your entertainment. Just because it is called food doesn't mean it's not poison. Number 8, hydration. Stay hydrated by drinking water throughout the day and consider incorporating hydrating foods like cucumbers, celery, watermelon, things that have a high water content. Limit the consumption of caffeinated and alcoholic drinks as they can contribute to dehydration if they're consumed in excess, right? Drink roughly about half your body weight in ounces. Follow your thirst as it is well regulated, right? Add a bit of salt to your water to help you stay hydrated as well. Salt, it actually helps you. So being hydrated is a thing. I don't harp on it because most people just, if you drink water, I do have a problem with people who are like, I don't like water. I'm like, where are you from? Have you just only drank entertainment your entire life to where now water, the thing you are 70% of, is now distasteful to you? I don't understand that. I don't have a shelf to put that on, okay? So people who are like, I don't drink water because I don't like it, I'm just kind of like, grow up. Just grow up. You're being a child. All right, sorry. Oh, sorry, I don't mean to be too forceful, but some people just need to hear it. Look, you can't drink soda your whole life. If you're out in the desert and you're thirsty, what are you going to do? Be like, but I don't like water. Okay, death. You know, like, what are you going to do? So, okay, number 9, eat mindfully. Practice mindful eating by paying attention to hunger and fullness cues. Chewing your food slowly, trying to savor it, like not eating in front of the television is usually a big thing. I eat in front of the television, but I don't tend to overeat either. Okay, I tend to eat more mindfully. Avoid distractions while eating, such as screens or work-related activities, to enhance awareness of your food choices and eating habits. Question your cravings. If you are sedentary, your physical need for food is lower. Okay. Sedentary, I mean, you don't move much. If you are eating all day when you are sedentary, there are other reasons why you're eating than hunger. You're not hungry because you're overfed. All right. So question your cravings. Part of growing in this area is asking hard questions like, when I go to find food, am I actually hungry? Or am I feeling alone or angry? Am I feeling some type of emotion that I'm expecting this food to do something for it? Am I feeling lonely? Am I feeling like sad or lonely on the inside? Okay. Am I actually thirsty? Should I just drink water first? Probably. Most people nowadays confuse thirst for hunger. Usually, if you just go and have a big glass of water, your hunger kind of goes away. Okay. Number 10, personalization and monitoring. Okay. Tailoring your dietary approach to your individual preferences, nutritional needs, and health goals is important. Monitor your progress over time, making adjustments as needed. Consulting with a healthcare professional or registered dietitian, or like myself, a functional nutritionist, for guidance and support is really helpful. Having a learner's mindset is needed. This is a skill. Health is a skill. You have to take a real interest in it and start developing the ability to think critically about your food. Having a coach is a big key here as well. Okay, so this principle is more towards long-term thinking, taking a learner's mindset towards your food, not just being like, well, I do this diet. Well, I'm a carnivore, or I'm a vegan, or I do keto, or I do whatever. And then just sticking rigidly to those rules. Okay, it might not be for you, man. And when you fail, that's another failure. That's going to be more discouraging and put you, probably like most people, on a worse path than what you were on. Okay, so personalization, having a learner's mindset, realizing that health is a skill. It takes time to learn. It takes time to learn how to be. I'm still learning. I teach other people how to do this. I do this for my job. I love it. I can't imagine my life without doing this, but I'm still learning. Okay, so it takes time. All right. 11, consistent execution. This is the only real secret to success. Not making excuses or quitting when it gets hard is a key. Okay. Cultivating the ability to adjust and execute on the fly is important. It is compounding over time. When things go sideways, you start again the next day. Okay. It's never too late to start, but it's always too late to quit. So probably this is the number one key to realizing pretty much success in any area of your life, I think, is consistent execution and adaptability over time. So consistency over time is literally the key to success here. Okay. And it's the ability to say, I'm going this direction. I keep hitting this obstacle, but hey, here's some solutions to this obstacle. Here's how I get around it. The proclivity to hit an obstacle and then just give up, I'm going to be honest with you. That's not even like childish, because children don't do that. Children they don't just give up. They find a way around things, right? Like my daughter, the other day, she came down with a shirt she sewed. She doesn't know how to sew. She just sewed. I'm like, what'd you do? She's like, I taught myself to sew. I'm like, okay. She's like, I wanted this shirt and I didn't have the money for it, so I made it. Okay. Right? That's a real learner, very flexible mentality to learning. Right? But adults, for some reason, especially if we went through regular school system, it's like, if I fail, I am a failure. And then they quit and they give up. I'm going to tell you right now, if you quit on your health, what else are you going to do? You just going to pray for miracles? When God's like, I gave you all the information right there. You literally have the universe in your fingertips. all the information, but knowledge means nothing without execution. Doesn't matter. And execution has to be consistent over time. Will you fail? Yes. Will you make mistakes? Yes. Will you eat stupid stuff? Yes. Will you do dumb things? Yes. Of course. But persistence over perfection. All right? So consistency is key. That's our last one. That was number 11. So, but one thing I want to leave you with is Einstein said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it, earns it. He who doesn't, pays it. Okay? So that means if you started today focusing on your health and your diet, eating for longevity, you could compound the interest over time. Basically, getting to the place where you have so much margin that you basically get away with things that other people don't get away with. Like I personally can get away with a week of eating like a dummy, eating like, like crazy, and then just get back on track. I can get away with it with no real health side effects. Will I pay for it? Yeah, in some ways, like my energy will be down, my sleep will be bad, things like that. But I'm not going to be like at the doctor. I'm not going to like now be insulin resistant, or that's not going to happen because I have built up so much margin and compounding interest over the last 30 years of doing this. But people who do nothing, the longer you go with doing nothing, the compounding interest of your poor decisions will catch up, which is why it is so normal these days for people to go in. Like people tell me, like I'm 47 years old. And people are like, dude, you look young for your age. And I'm like, no, I don't look young for my age. I look young compared to other 47-year-olds because the bar has been set so low because people are reaping the compounding interest of their poor decisions, right? And it's now normal to be in bad shape. It is normal to have no health and be on the downward slope after 40. Like I feel better now than I have in years. I feel I'm almost as strong as I've been in years. And it's just because of compounding interest in the right direction. So let me just encourage you. The compounding interest of negative choices will catch up unless you start changing your direction. All right. Now we believe in you here at Adam Braud Fitness. We love you. We appreciate you. And we really are hoping that this podcast is going to add value to you. And hopefully you take some of my maybe more direct comments in the spirit that they are given, which is lighthearted, but with concern and care. Okay. Because I pray for you guys. I pray for the listeners. I pray for my clients. I pray for people who are in my life who are using this information to get better, because at the end of the day, man, God's got a purpose for you. Jeremiah 29:11, for he knows the plans he has for you, right? Plans of good, plans to prosper you, plans for hope and a future, right? Like he's got plans for you. The thing is are you getting on track with those plans? Are you planning on, is your faith strong enough? Is your faith strong enough for you to take care of your body in a way that actually plans on you seeing those good plans come to pass? Or are you just riding this out until the end and hoping the end comes sooner? I know people like that too. Okay, let me tell you, God's got a purpose for your life. He loves you. We love you here. And we really do believe that the best is yet to come, that your health can be better than it ever has, and you can start reaping the compounding interest and blessings from the right decisions over time. But it's going to take responsibility. It's going to take you taking care, and it's going to take you being responsible and consistent over time. Okay? Don't make excuses for yourself. All right? Excuses are like armpits. Everybody's got one, and most of them stink. All right? So you're an adult. Take care of your life. God has a good plan for you. Get on board with that plan. All right? We love you. Have a great day. Hey there, guys. I want to take a quick second to highlight a partner that we've been working with lately, Upgraded Formulas. You can see them at upgradedformulas.com. I have personally been taking their upgraded T formula to support natural testosterone production. I've noticed it after a few months. I've noticed I've had a bit more mental clarity. My rest is a little better, and I'm recovering a bit better from my workouts, which was actually surprising. So I'm able to exercise just a bit more. I love to exercise, so that's a bonus for me. Women can also take this because healthy testosterone levels in women help with fat loss, mental clarity, muscle gain, things like that. And also, the estrogen and testosterone go together hand in hand. If you support one, the other does pretty well as well. So definitely check them out. Also, they do something really great. I want to highlight a hair mineral analysis where you send them a little chunk of your hair, and they will let you know if you're deficient in anything or if you have too much of something like heavy metals in your system. So what this does is this is a great thing to help give you data on your health so that you can make decisions. None of this is a miracle cure. All of it is just information to help you make better decisions around your health and supplementation. All right, so really check them out. They're doing some really great quality. They're seeing some huge results, and I believe they're going to have some clinical studies coming out pretty soon. So check them out, upgradedformulas.com. Use the code ADAM10 to get a 10% discount today.